Hey, welcome back to MR Fishing Ohio, and today I'm going to talk about hook sets. Hook sets are probably one of the most exciting parts of fishing, but it really depends on what kind of lure that you're using to determine how you go about doing that. And I'm going to talk about 3 or 4 different lures that all really differ on what kind of hook set you're going to do. And the best way I can do this is by showing you the lures and then talk about how they differ on their hook set. And sometimes it differs just on what kind of hook you're using, even if it's the same lure. So I'm going to start off with my favorite, which is the spinnerbait. So a spinnerbait is kind of dependent on the situation, when that fish bites. Now, a lot of times when you're fishing a spinnerbait, the fish is going to hit it as you're reeling it in. And when they do that, a lot of times they do end up setting the hook themselves for the most part. And so when that happens, a lot of times all it takes is to apply a little bit of pressure. It doesn't take much. If you watch any of my videos, you'll see when I get a bite on a spinnerbait, I don't move my arms up and crack it back halfway to the next state. You don't really need that much. And with the single hook, and not a lot of pressure usually is needed. And the reason you don't want to put a big hook set into a lot of lures like that is because it actually makes a bigger hole in the fish's mouth. If you notice on a spinnerbait or a lot of other moving baits that are single hook, it's a pretty big hook. And if you make it a bigger hole, that fish can actually throw the lure a lot easier. So what you don't want is to put a giant puncture, and that will actually make it easier for the fish to get off, especially when it jumps. And a lot of fish that you lose from that, I think, are from too hard of a hook set. Because the fish that I don't lose, I get them in, it's actually hard for me to get the hook out on a spinnerbait because I didn't make a very big puncture. And so I actually have to bend it and get it to pop out. Now, the next one, and really that applies to most moving baits that are single hook. I just chose a spinnerbait because it's my favorite. But the hook on a bladed jig and the hook on like a swim jig are going to be fairly similar. And so if I showed you a swim jig, you'll see the hook might be a little thicker. But once again, it's same sort of principle, right? It's a meatier hook. You will have to usually set it a bit harder because if you don't, it actually won't go in the fish. But once again, it's not one of those hook sets where it's not the TV hook set. You don't need a TV hook set for most lures. I will talk about a few that you might. And then next up, we have something like a Senko. Now, this is interesting because it depends on what kind of hook you're using. Will determine the hook set. I like using a circle hook, and I don't even set the hook. I just reel once I see that line starting to move. And the reason for that is a circle hook sets itself by not a lot of force. And if you do a lot of saltwater fishing, you'll know when you're using a circle hook, you're not setting the hook. And it takes a little bit of practice to not do it because us freshwater fishermen are so used to having to set the hook. But you don't do that with a circle hook. Now, if I was Texas rigging it, I would use a very small wire hook. And once again, it's not going to take an incredible amount of force to get that hook set. And usually you're using a lighter rod when you're using soft plastics. So doing a harder hook set with a lighter rod is not as significant as doing a hard hook set with a more stiffer rod, right? You're not going to move that fish very far if you do a harder hook set with soft plastic versus you're using something like a flipping jig. You'll see videos of people set the hook and the whole fish flies out of the water. Obviously, you didn't need that much force in that instance because the fish was 14 inches long. Next, we have topwater. Now, topwater is probably the most difficult hook set to pull off, partly because it's a timing thing, and a lot of people miss the timing. When you're using any kind of topwater bait, especially one that floats, a lot of times what's going to happen, the bait's chugging along, the fish hits it, and the first thing we do is we set the hook, we miss the fish because they haven't really got a hold of it yet. There's a little bit of a delay you need to do. After you see the blow up, you give a few seconds count, not many, and then you snap the hook back. And once again, a lot of these topwater hard body baits are going to have double treble hooks. And those are hooks where it doesn't take a lot for them to get stuck in the fish's mouth. So once again, you don't need to be doing a jaw cracking hook set. But you also need to do enough to where it doesn't just slip out of the fish's mouth. You can't just it can't be too easy. There's a fine line of too hard of a hook set and too light of one. Now you want to err on the side of caution with something like topwater. Usually, like I said, you got to wait. That's kind of the number one rule. And now this lure in particular is kind of like a souped up jitterbug. I got this in a bait package, which is what the second part of this video is going to be, because I'm actually going to go do a little unboxing now. I got a new company that I'm going to be pro staffing for. I'm really excited about it. It's an Ohio company. It's called Blind Squirrel Bait Co. You can see I'm repping the shirt right now, but they just sent me a bunch of stuff and some spinner baits I actually designed. So I'm really excited about those. So I'm going to go through some of the stuff they sent, because they have a lot of really cool stuff. And if I can't, I spend the whole video talking about it, I will run out of time. But I do want to show some of my own designs, and I will link the site where you can see the rest of them. In particular, I already have one tied on. I couldn't wait. I put it on my spinnerbait rod. I got to turn them in 2 weeks. And you've probably seen it if you looked at my community posts. But first up, we got one of the spinnerbaits I designed. This one is a 1/2 ounce spinnerbait. I did some natural colors with some purple, kind of like a PB&J style color. Now for trailer, I'll probably pair this with a darker trailer, something like that. And then I got 2 blades, got a Colorado and a willow leaf. Pretty standard size. And then as far as trailer go, like I said, I'll probably pick something more like an earthy tone. This is going to be something I use clear water, because it has some not too bright colors, but they're not too dull to where it won't get noticed. But I really do like mixing up the skirt colors, because a lot of fish see the same 3 colors for a spinnerbait. So it doesn't hurt to try other ones. So that's number 1. And then I will show you my other designed spinnerbait. We have one right here that I'm really liking the looks of. This one I showed earlier. It's got 2 different color willow blades. It's got a skirt with some purple. I got this paired with kind of like a natural shad color trailer with it. Now this one I'm probably going to throw in my upcoming tournament. It's the fall. The bait's going to be concentrated, and the bass are probably going to be chasing bait fish. And I'm going to try to throw some things that are imitators. And I'm thinking with this color, it's going to be a nice contrast, and it'll be a good one to throw. Additionally, they make a bunch of buzzbaits. I really like the looks of this one. I'm not huge on buzzbaits myself. I've never had a lot of luck with them. I've had some blowups and misses, but this one has such a cool blade, it's going to make me want to throw it. So it's got 2 blades that are kind of connected, and you can see they alternate in a different pattern, which is, I can't wait to look at this in the water. I feel like it's going to be really cool action. But the skirt is really vibrant. And then I also like how it's not too long. I think sometimes, like, I've tried some buzzbaits and they were just too big for what I was fishing for. So I like the design there. And then I'll go over some of the other stuff. I got some, well, that was the one, I think I already showed that one. I'll show the other spinner baits. So I got, oh, there we go. There it is. Got one with a bigger blade, a larger willow blade right here. And then I have a single Colorado with kind of like a green chartreuse and white and a little bit of blue in there. I like the looks of this one a lot too. That's a color I really like in May. Some kind of shad color, I can't remember. Then I'll go over some of the soft plastics. So big variety here. We got some fluke style baits, some salt and pepper. Those look pretty nice. And then another trailer. I'm probably going to use this probably with the chatterbait, maybe as a spinnerbait trailer. That little like minnow style with the little tail that does a lot of action. And then this one I'm really excited for, and this is the basically stick bait that I designed color-wise. So I'm gonna take one out. The one thing I really like about this is that it's a color that I've never seen like any soft plastics in. And what I'm gonna use this for is fishing at places that are highly pressured, because one thing that I will notice is that sometimes in places that gets a lot of pressure, oddball colors work. And so this one's actually in Nile green is what it's called. I kind of like it because it's very teal-y in color. I think it'll work really well, like I said, in places that get a lot of action. But also I think it'll work well in places that are a little cloudier, because it is a color that I think could work in both clear and darker conditions. So I'm excited for that one. And then I think I got some jigs in here. I'm gonna take a look. I haven't taken these out yet, but some different flipping and football jigs, it looks like. Something I've not used a lot, but it's something I want to learn just from watching other people on YouTube and things like that. So just overall, like, here's a swim jig with this color is just awesome looking. And then we have a flipping jig with more of like a traditional color here. And that is the one thing I will say about Blind Squirrel baits. I've been really impressed with so far. I haven't had a chance to take these out yet. Well, by the time you see this video. But their selection for skirts and colors of plastics are off the charts. You're not going to see this kind of selection with a lot of companies. They kind of get picked to their standards colors, and there's not a lot of variety, especially when spinnerbaits. I like a lot of different colors for spinnerbaits, and I've found a lot of other companies only have so many. And with these guys, there's like, I don't know, hundreds of color combinations you could do feasibly. So I'm really excited to use them. And then the one I already have tied on, that's probably gonna be the first thing I throw for my tournament. It's a spinnerbait with 3 blades. It's called the Triple Threat. It looks really great. It's gonna be a great bait fish imitator. So I'm really excited to use it for my upcoming tournament. And so I just do want to talk about that. I know this video is kind of a little bit all over the place, but I have a lot of stuff going on towards the end of the season. I did qualify for the state championship. I got in as an alternate, first one. So there's, I think, 24 people that qualified. So I was basically 25. But we had some people that double qualified here and there. So really it was, there wasn't really a person ahead of me per se. But overall, I probably expect there to be somewhere between 20 and 24 people that show up for this tournament. So we're talking best anglers in the state of Ohio. There's going to be a lot of sticks there. I mean, these are a lot of these guys I've fished against before. Some of them I've beaten, others never come close. And of course, a lot of the tackle guys will be joining me. If you follow any of their other YouTube channels, like Catching with Kevin or Tackle on My Mind, they both qualified, Kevin and Michael. And then there will be some other guys you might know from other Ohio channels, like the Creek Crawler, Brian Slayton, he's going to be there. And then there's a few other guys I think that have YouTube channels. But overall, it's going to be some of the biggest names in Ohio kayak fishing down there. I don't consider myself to be one of those yet, but I'll be up against them. My first real kind of big stakes tournament, because of course, top 8 for this, punch a ticket to the Kayak Bassmaster Classic in Texas next year. Always been a goal of mine to fish in some kind of tournament like that. Just be super cool to fish in something, even if it's the kayak, it's the Bassmaster Classic like that. Even people that don't know fishing know what the Bassmaster Classic is. And to be able to maybe get on that stage or be next to the stage just to see it would be such a cool thing. I've been doing competitive fishing for 3 years now, and this is the first real shot I've had at something big like this, so I'm not going to let it go to waste. I'm going to give it all I have. It's going to be at Hoover Reservoir, October 19th, and I'm going to throw everything I got at them, and if I make it, I make it. But the fact that I'm this close is cool enough for me. So thanks for tuning in to all the tournament videos this year. Like I said, got one more coming. Might have one or two other fishing videos where I'm actually out. But as we're winding down in Ohio, October is kind of the last decent month you can really get out realistically. And then after that, I'll be doing a lot more Tackle Corner videos, so make sure to drop your ideas for me. I do polls, and people usually help me out with that. But other than that, just keep looking out for content. I'll be pushing out more shorts and other stuff like that. As always, you know, if you follow the channel, I try to keep up with that. So thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate all the support. Getting over 1,100 subscribers. I really never thought I'd get here when I started the channel. So appreciate all the support. And if you're not already subscribed, make sure you do. See you in the next one.